I'm in a coffee shop and my attention is split kind of 50-50 between the people coming and going on their phones, distracted in a hurry, and the snow falling outside. I'm supposed to be journaling about my past. Not that long ago, I enrolled in a self-help journaling program, and it felt like a good idea at the time, but now here I am, and it's time to put pen to paper, or for me, type, and I don't want to do it. That's why I'm staring at people, and that's why I'm staring outside. I don't really want to do it. I'm starting to question whether or not I have good decision making, but eventually I become a journaling machine. Eventually I start writing about my past. I split my past up into different sections. I found 3 or 4 different experiences, highly emotional events that happened in each of those sections. I wrote about those things. I thought about how those have impacted and made me who I am. And something happened. All of a sudden, I started to piece things together that didn't feel like they fit together before. Suddenly, my sitting alone in my room, drawing comic book characters started to make sense, because that got me into art classes in high school. And that got me into a fascination with visual communication. A conversation with my grandma about a building in Fargo, North Dakota got me to go to tech school for drafting. And that got me into college for finance and then economics. My helping a friend save a whole semester's worth of college by reworking his schedule is related to my calling of helping people live the best life they can, the one that they'd be proud to look back on. It's all there. It all makes sense. And when it starts to make sense, when those connections are made, all of a sudden, it's easier to live with those things, at least for me. And this was a result of journaling. I didn't know journaling could be so effective, but it can be. It can be for me, and I think it can be for you too. Find out more right after this. Hi there, this is Derek Hagan. I'm a financial therapist specializing in purpose and happiness, here with another money health conversation, talking about journaling. What happened to me when I was journaling was the recognition that things happen that lead to other things to happen. These things that happen are kind of like just dots. They're dots that happen. They're events. They're isolated incidents that happen throughout your life. And this same thing can happen with just thinking, with just thoughts, right? Thoughts are not the same thing as thinking. Thoughts, those isolated events that have happened to me, start to make sense when you can connect the dots. Okay? Thoughts and thinking. There's a big difference between the two. Journaling is the process of thinking. It's the process of organizing your thoughts. You've got all these thoughts, just kind of mangled up, don't make much sense, floating around up here. And then by taking those thoughts and organizing them into words and sentences and paragraphs through a journal, you can start to make sense of things. You can take that ball of mess and you can turn it into something that makes sense. This is much the same way you organize thoughts with a professional listener, with a good listener. It's almost as good as a good listener, and it's definitely better than a bad listener. And I can't stress this enough. You know, a good listener helps you organize your thoughts. Journaling helps you organize your thoughts. But a bad listener makes it worse. A bad listener is somebody who always hijacks the conversation, somebody who doesn't let you complete your thought, somebody that keeps everything surface level and you never get any depth to that conversation. You might notice is your kind of default mode. You say something, then I say something. You say something, I say something. And I'm only listening to you insofar as I can jump in and say something. I can jump in and tell you my view on it. That's a bad listener. A good listener is really good, but you don't know which is which. It's hard to tell. Journaling, though, that's on you. So take your gains here. You can do better with a good listener, of course, but journaling is a really good process of really getting some depth, really doing some clear thinking. And what you'll find is that over time, that scattered mess starts to get a little bit more clear, and you keep doing it, and pretty soon it's really clear. It's crystal clear. Journaling is the process of making sense out of what happened. Journaling is the process of expressing yourself. Journaling is the process of organizing and expressing thoughts. And this is good for everybody, but it's especially good if you need somebody to talk to. If there's something you have to get off your chest, this is really good because bad things happen. Bad stuff is going to happen. Traumatic things even. But it doesn't need to be all the way to trauma. Bad things happen. Irritating things happen. And if we leave those as thoughts, if we don't make any sense out of it, then we ruminate, then we're depressed, then we're anxious, then we have all these problems. We ruminate, we're not mindful. But if we can make sense out of it, now we get some growth right in that middle zone. That's what we want. We want growth. We want to learn the lessons that are there for us to learn. And we do that by trying to figure out, how did that shape me? What was the point of that? Can I make sense out of all of that? And as you do this, you start to recognize patterns in your head that get you from X to O. You start to recognize certain themes that you have, thinking patterns that you have, automatic thoughts that you have. And this is important because once you recognize those automatic thoughts, then you can start to change them. You can't change any automatic thoughts if you don't know that you have them. Okay, so journaling has a tremendous benefit to you. Organizing thoughts, talking through things, making sense of what's happened to you, piecing together all those things that have happened, all those thoughts that are floating out there. So how do you do it? What do you do? Well, you could look to me and I could tell you what to do, because here's what works for me, here's what works for other people, and there's some benefit to that. But finding something that works best for you, that's going to be the biggest benefit that you can find. Some ideas. You can start with just a simple gratitude journal. And by me calling it simple doesn't mean it's not profound. It's just straightforward. Every day, every night or in the morning, write down things for which you're grateful. What you pay attention to is what your life becomes. So many of us focus on the negatives. That's not our fault. We have a built-in negativity bias that helped our ancestors survive. But there's a lot of good around you. You just have to notice it. The process of gratitude journaling helps you do that. So just write down 3 things for which you're grateful. Now, the important thing that I want to make sure you know is that you have to feel that gratitude. Allow yourself to feel it, because if this becomes a chore, I have to go journal about gratitude. You're not going to do it, and you're not going to get the benefit from it. Some people think that you should journal daily. Simple as writing down the day, where I am, how I feel, what I did. Doesn't need to take more than 10 minutes. Just get your thoughts out. Just talk, or write. And then over time, you can even go back to old journals. You can go back to 1 year ago and 5 years ago and 10 years ago, and you can follow what your life was like because you've written about it. This is very, very insightful for you. And then journaling in an emergency, when there's something you need to get off your chest and maybe you don't feel comfortable talking to somebody, a friend, about it. Maybe it's too private, or maybe you just don't have a good listener. Maybe they're not a good listener, but you have something that you need to work through. Journaling can be very beneficial for that. That's when you simply write about what happened, how you feel, and how you think that has altered and changed your life and made you who you are. So these are some ideas. It can work, it will work. You have to try something that works best for you, though. And I think you can do it. Try a few things, kick some ideas around, and start writing. You get one life. Live intentionally.